like a dream gig for me, just to be able to write books for a video game.
Hello, everybody. My name is Henry Castillo. Welcome to Get It Right, where we take a deep dive into the lives of writers and authors, but we do it right. Now we have the wonderful Amanda Butler here. Hey, Amanda, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, good, good. And thank you, for coming to our show. And I kind of want to tell the audience, tell us a little bit about yourself before we go and dive in deep into this show.
All right, thank you. Well, my name's Amanda. I've been writing poetry for about 15 years now. I started writing poetry when I was an early teenager, and I just did not stop. And I think there was a part of me that couldn't stop. Yeah, and I'm just passionate about anything literary. I love books. I love audiobooks. I can't get enough of books.
That's really cool. Now, I know you did say that you've been writing since you were a teenager. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so what was like, how did you really get into writing? What's the story behind that?
All right. Well, when I was an early teenager, I moved from Massachusetts to Florida, and that was rough, right? Like I moved from the place that I had been my entire life, and then I moved somewhere completely new. All of my family, the majority of my family was still in New England, and I was just in a completely new place, starting a new school, and poetry was just kind of like my refuge, right? Like I just picked up a pen and I was able to just write down my feelings, and I was really able to process that move, and really it just helped me accept it, and um, it just felt really nice to get all the words on paper.
That's really cool. So how was it like moving to Florida? Like, was it a different experience?
Yeah, 100%. Like there were no seasons, there was no changing colors in the trees. Um, and I remember when I first moved to Florida, I hated palm trees just on principle because to me that palm trees symbolized everything that was not Massachusetts. So I wrote a lot of palm tree hate poetry. Like palm trees did not have good representation in my poetry.
Yeah,
But honestly, like after a few years, palm trees became a symbol of like home, right? Because as I grew up, Florida became my home. And yeah, so palm trees kind of symbolized at first like not home, and then they ended up symbolizing home with a capital H.
yeah. So I definitely understand that's like not having the four seasons. I
Mhm.
come from New York and New Jersey, so I know definitely how that's like. You know.
Yeah.
All right, Amanda. So how is your workflow like when it comes to writing?
So my workflow for writing is not set in stone. There are some writers who say like, "Oh, you have to write every day to be a real writer." I don't subscribe to that because I feel like that's a very unhealthy view. If you are doing the same thing every day, it becomes a chore, and I don't ever want writing to become a chore for me. Writing is honestly the center, like it's my central hobby. It's my passion. My world revolves around writing and reading. So, really, I just follow my heart. If I feel like I need to write, that is when I write. If I feel like it's time for me to submit my poetry to journals or online publications, then I submit my work. If I just need to take the time to plan some poems but not write them, then I'll do it. But yeah, so I just kind of follow where the day takes me, and
Okay.
I just let inspiration guide me. But I do I do feel it in my heart if I don't write um, for a long period of time. Like if I go through a long period of writer's block, I typically will sit down at some point and just write for an hour or two, and then I feel so much better.
That's really good. So it's like therapy for you, writing. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%.
Nice. Have you ever written like really late at night or super early in the morning?
Never early in the morning because once my head hits the pillow, I'm done. Um, but like there are times where I'll stay up late at night and like my eyes feel like they're just going to like shut, like they're rocks on my eyelids or something. But if I need to get the words out, I will get the words out.
Yeah. kind of like doing homework, I feel like.
Yeah. Although more fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely more fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Now, Amanda,
Mhm.
another question is, and I think to me this is very important. So, what really motivates you to keep writing?
I need to. Um, the motivation is because, quite simply, I need to get the words out. If I don't write for a long period of time, I feel like there's this heavy negativity that just builds up like in my heart. And once I put the pen to paper, it's almost like I can feel that negativity draining away. There's really no other way to describe it. Um, and yeah, I usually can leave a writing session feeling refreshed. I feel like it's both productivity, but also like self-care, so I feel like it's kind of like a nice even factor of both.
So, like, myself, I like to write, and I also like to express myself by words,
Mhm.
just regular talking. Like, so when you write, do you feel like you express yourself in a better way than actual talking?
100%.
Okay.
100%. I much prefer to like write an email than get on the phone.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
I love words.
Okay. See, I'm old school. I rather call somebody instead of a
Uh-huh.
text. Yes, but you rather text. Is that correct?
100%.
Okay. So when somebody calls you, do you ever do you pick up their phone call or you just say I'm gonna text you later?
I try to pick up the phone. Typically when someone calls me, I do look at the phone for good, like maybe 2 seconds, like, do I really want to pick this up? Should I
Mhm.
pick this up? I should. All right, I'll pick it up.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Okay. So I guess we're lucky we got you here in Zoom. So
Thank you. Thank you. Well, this is face to face. Like I can actually see your face
yeah,
and your emotion and all of that.
yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Thank you for that, Amanda. So another question we do have is what is one recent event or series of events that really inspire you to write?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So there have been two. I mean, recently, honestly, it's the pandemic. It's a big thing all across the world right now.
Hmm.
And I would lie if I'd sit here and tell you that it didn't affect me. I started journaling early in the spring, again, because I just needed to get my thoughts out specifically about, staying at home, safer at home, all of that. So what I did after the spring and summer passed, I looked back at all of my previous journal entries and I crafted a poem with the first sentence of each journal entry.
Hmm.
And it ended up being, like, for lack of better words, really poetic because I got to see how my first sentences of each journal entry changed over time.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so that was a nice little exercise for me. And something that I've also been writing about is my own growth in terms of like self-confidence. A few years ago, I was not that self-confident, but just over time, every year I feel like I get a little more and more confident. So I've just been writing a collection that I hopefully eventually want to publish. Um, Whichever venue it is, self-publishing or traditional, we'll see. But I'm currently writing a series of that focuses on self-confidence.
Nice. So, because I know, again, I think there's a difference between writing stories, writing your emotions, or writing about poems. Um,
Hmm.
which one of them do you find the most amazing to you?
Oh, okay. So it sounds like, ooh, that is a good question. Um,
That's why we're here.
yeah, that is a really good question. Um, I would say I much prefer to write in metaphor. So I like to tell stories through metaphor, but hidden behind that metaphor is my truth, right? It's my essence.
Hmm.
Um, like I also wrote a collection that I kept to myself. I haven't explored publishing it yet, but I did write a collection of poetry where I assigned a family member in my family each an animal. And then I wrote a story about all of these animals like interacting. And it's the story of how I grew up, really, but through the metaphor of different animals. So.
That's really cool. What's your favorite animal?
Dolphin, for
The
sure.
dolphin. Have you ever gone swimming with the dolphins or?
Not swimming with the dolphins, but I did when I was like 12, I think I like pet a dolphin at SeaWorld. And then one of my favorite places in the world is Clearwater Marine Aquarium. I love seeing Winter and Hope.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've never done that. I've seen a dolphin, but I've never actually had the opportunity to pet one. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
They're very soft.
Are they?
Hmm.
Smart. They're smart creatures.
Oh yeah, 100%. And they love to play.
Do they?
Hmm.
That's cool. That's cool. I need to do that. All right, man. And thank you for sharing that. So, our next question, what is your favorite book of all time?
Oh my gosh, this question, I never know what to answer because, if you go on my Goodreads profile, I have a shelf specifically for my favorite books, and there's at least 50, 60 something books on there.
Hmm.
I really honestly can't choose one, but I can tell you some of my books. Is it okay if I answer with more than
Yeah,
one?
absolutely. We'd love to hear it.
Oh, perfect. Like I love Diana Wynne Jones's Howl's Moving Castle. I love The Last Unicorn. Um, and I guess the combo breaker here is there's a book. I wonder if I have it behind me. Um,
I was gonna say I definitely see a few books behind you.
yeah, yeah. You know what? Oh, I don't see it. I don't know if you can hear me when my head is turned.
Yeah, we can
But
hear
I have this book called Japanese Death Poetry,
you.
and
Hmm.
it's the last haiku of haiku poets, Zen monks, and it's like literally their dying words in the form of a haiku that they wrote like on their deathbed.
Wow.
And it's so I love like The Last Unicorn and Howl's Moving Castle and like fantasy, but then I also really liked that selection of haiku because it was very intimate and it kind of felt like a literary graveyard where I could pay my respects as I was reading that book.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Sounds
and
really
then
interesting, to be honest. I can
oh
imagine
yeah,
somebody in their deathbed
100%.
and their very few words. What do they say?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's wow. I mean, it kind of even inspires me to read that book.
It's a really good book.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Amanda. Alrighty, Amanda. So another one of our questions that we do have is, I did hear that you were actually the third poet laureate of Oldsmar. How did that really come to pass?
Well, once I moved to Oldsmar, really what I did was I checked out the local library, and that's typically one of the first things that I do when I move to a new place.
Okay.
And it just so happened that within 2 weeks of me moving there, there was going to be a meeting for a poetry club. And it was going to be like the first meeting just to see how much interest there was in the area. And I was just like, yeah, I love poetry, so of course I'm going to go. So I went there, and it was hosted by the second poet laureate of Oldsmar, who went by the name of Gator. And so I met him, and it was about, I think it was once a month, I would go over to the library, and he would provide a prompt, and we would write poetry based off of that prompt. And it was me and just a group of us, really. And it was just something really fun to do on Saturday mornings. Um, and then he unfortunately had to step down because he was moving out of Oldsmar. And so he recommended me to the city council of Oldsmar. And
Wow.
yep, in early November of 2018, I was voted unanimously to be the third poet laureate of Oldsmar. And I served in that role from November 2018 to July 2020,
Oh wow.
or
So
August
is this
2020, yeah.
okay? Is this like volunteering or
Hmm.
it
Yep, it was
is?
a volunteer-based role, and I took up the mantle in terms of the poetry meetings.
Hmm.
So twice, I ended up hosting those meetings twice a month, so 2 Saturdays a month, and I would choose a theme, like a type of poem to learn. So
Yeah.
sometimes we'd go over haiku or cinquain, and we would just review, like I would teach this specific form of poetry,
Hmm.
and um, I would basically prompt my guests to write in that style. And The magical thing about that was a lot of these people, when they were going through school, poetry was considered this top tier thing, like Shakespeare, Wordsworth,
Mhm.
um, and very, very much distanced, right? Um, and so a lot of these people, they were like, I can't write poetry. I can't do that. And then I'd be like, just try it, just try it.
Yeah.
And then it was really magical seeing their faces once they did it. And they were like, I can write a poem. And that was very magical to hear that.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely true. You never know until you try, you know?
Hmm.
And you also have, I feel like sometimes you have to have that person push you, because if you
Hmm.
don't have that push, you're not, some people are not going to try at all. So sounds like a good person. You're a
Exactly.
very motivated person.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. And then also what I would do is once a month I would write a poem for the Oldsmar City Council, and
Mhm.
that's how they would open up the meeting. And so I actually have two poems here that I want to read to you, if that's okay. Um,
Absolutely.
Thank you. The first one is called Good Morning Oldsmar, and
Okay.
it's the first poem that I read to the Oldsmar City Council.
Wow.
Good morning, Oldsmar. Good morning, Oldsmar, and your sunrise that peeks through palm fronds, and good morning also to the retention ponds, and its sandhill crane reflections across your bald eagles nesting atop the telephone pole outside my apartment. Your morning breath smells of cut grass, smells of slight rain, smells of new coffee. And the second poem I'd like to read is the last poem that I read for the Oldsmar City Council, and that one's called Good Night, Oldsmar. And I thought this was very, it just kind of tied up, it kind of brought things full circle, right? Like I started saying Good morning, Oldsmar,
Yeah.
and then I ended my
That's a good
role
night.
there as poet with Good Night. Yep.
Yeah.
So this one is called Good Night, Oldsmar. Sunset paints the backyard tree in exhaled golden hour. Creatures return to their places beneath the rooted bower. From the third-story balcony I see birds to nests and squirrels to drays. This is the beginning of the end of this day. Today has told a story, and tomorrow will as well, and yet they will be as different as the calls of each whippoorwill. The sun gives one last glint of light before making way for the stars, and the wind whispers to the twilight, have a good night, Oldsmar.
Wow. I really do like that, to be honest, because it connects with the good morning, the good night.
Thank you.
That's really what really inspired you, like to write that.
Well, those were just all the things that I could see from my window. And, you know, one of the first things when I moved to Oldsmar, I wrote a poem about what I could see out the window, and it just made sense to do that
Mhm.
before I left.
You see, that's what really inspires me because you never know. Even like you said, like just looking outside the window can inspire you, provide you with an idea, and
Hmm.
you never know where you can take that. So
100%. Nature has been inspiring poets for centuries.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really cool. Thank you for that, for
Mhm.
sharing that. I'm pretty sure our audience is going to enjoy that, and hopefully you guys use it too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, my next question is, Amanda. To me, I love asking this question. Do you have like a particular like author or writer that really has inspired you for a very long time?
Emily Dickinson. She has
Okay.
always been my favorite poet.
Hmm.
She's from Massachusetts, and I was able to visit her house, which is now a museum in Amherst, Massachusetts, and it was honestly a poet's pilgrimage for me. I got to tour her house. They have laminated scraps of paper that she actually wrote on. I got to hold Emily Dickinson's scrap paper.
Uh,
Um, and, she was buried in the graveyard that she could see from her bedroom.
mhm.
And so I was able to go to that graveyard, and I left a little note of thanks for her on her gravestone. And I visited it 9 years ago, and to this day, that's one of my top favorite trips. And
Really?
she's the reason that I'm obsessed with the M dash. It's my favorite piece of punctuation.
Okay. Okay. Look at you. That's really. Thank you for providing that. Hopefully, you get
Mhm.
to reach to that level of
Oh,
writing
oh
and
gosh, thank you.
poetry. You never know. I always tell people the sky's the limit. It's just
Hmm.
I feel like it's just about putting the work or working hard. Nothing happens overnight. That's what I always tell people.
100%. Yes.
Exactly. Thank you for that. And Amanda, have you ever done you ever seen movies? Have you ever done like stand up poet where you speak in front of an audience and you express your poetry?
I have attended open mic nights in the past.
Yes.
I'm not really a spoken word poet because that is a talent all on its own. Like spoken word poets,
Hmm.
I really admire them because they not only write their poetry, they can memorize it and then they can stand up in front of people and like really put their body and soul into it. I need to have a piece of paper in front of me.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so I'm not a spoken word poet, but I admire the people who are.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, you never know. We might see you there one day.
Maybe.
I, yeah. I mean, you're strong enough to get in this show, so I'm pretty sure you'll do the stand up.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you for expressing that. Now, Amanda, another question we do have is there like a particular movie, video game, or like a TV series that you think has amazing writing?
Oh, okay. The first one that comes to mind is Skyrim.
Okay.
Honestly, it's one of my favorite video games. And the
Okay.
reason why I say that is because there are so many books in Skyrim. And like you can just play the game, go into someone's house and you just find their bookshelves and then you can read the books on the bookshelves. And I just thought that that was fantastic. I would actually, as I was playing the game, I would like collect all of the books that I could find. So I would like steal the books from the NPCs and bring them to my own house in Skyrim, to the
Yeah.
point where like there would just be piles of books everywhere in my
Wow.
virtual bedroom.
Yeah.
um, and I just think that it takes a lot of talent to write books in a video game. Like that's so meta and I love it. And
Yeah.
I think that'd be like a dream gig for me, just to be able to write books for a video game.
Yeah. So you're into video games too. You like video games.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Nice. Nice. What kind of
Hmm.
video games do you really enjoy the best or the
Oh,
most?
I like fantasy video games.
Okay.
So like Kingdom Hearts, yeah, just I love all types of video games. Skyrim, Final Fantasy, Animal Crossing. I just love the narratives and escaping.
Yeah, that's really cool. Thank you for providing that. Now, I see you also have a couple books behind you. How many books do you think you have behind you?
Oh my gosh, I don't even want to think about it. Okay, so between this bookshelf,
Hmm.
so I have this bookshelf, I have the bookshelf in my bedroom, there's my Kindle, and then there's my audiobooks.
Hmm.
I would probably venture to say I have at least 300 books on my to read list. It's
300
quite
books.
daunting.
It's a lot of
Yes,
books.
yes, it is.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing. That's a really good
Yeah,
thing.
yep. I'm
Thank
thinking of
you.
putting myself on like a like I on a plan where I am not allowed to buy books for like a year. I know I
Yeah,
could never stick to it, but every year I tell myself that on New Year's Eve, I tell myself my resolution for the next year is to not buy any more books. And then next year these books just keep
you can't
appearing.
resist. You can't resist.
Yeah, exactly. They just appear out of thin air. I don't know how they
Yeah,
get here.
yeah, no worries. Thank you for that. Now,
Mhm.
Amanda, we do have another questions. We kind of want to almost finish it off here. Do you have ever like any particular moments that nobody knows or very few people that you're very proud of?
Okay, so let's see. When honestly, it would probably be the time I fell in love with publishing, honestly, and seeing my words on paper. I was 6 years old, and the local library in Massachusetts was hosting a contest where local children had to write a book report. And the winning book report, would be published in the local newspaper. And I remember raising my hand to ask the librarian a question. And I was 6 years old at the time. And the librarian, she was like, no, no, not you. You're too young. And I just remember thinking, like, what do you mean I'm too young? And I think she also followed it up with, you're too young to understand it. And I remember thinking, like, excuse me?
He
I
obviously
I
doesn't know
can
who
understand it
Amanda
just
is.
fine. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So little 6-year-old me, I chose to write a book report on my favorite childhood book called Owlie,
Hmm.
and I think it was written by Mike Thaler. Um, And I wrote this book report. I worked really hard on it, and I ended up winning that contest. So my book report was in the local newspaper, and that was really the first time that I saw like my name and my words on a published piece of paper, and
Yeah.
I think I got addicted to it.
Yeah. I can imagine. How old are you two at that time when that happened?
Six. I was six. Yeah.
6. Wow. That's very young.
Yeah.
Wow. Most
Yeah.
people are happy to, most kids at 6 just want to play with their friends. You're over here having publishing.
Yep. Yep. I mean, if people tell me to my face, like, oh no, you won't understand it, you can't do it. Oh no, I will prove them wrong.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Wow. I can't even imagine,
Mhm.
just it's like seeing a baby come to life. Obviously you're 6, but it's like literally for yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And our final questions, Amanda, is what does writing mean to you? I really want you to express to our audience, what does writing mean to you?
Writing is a form of magic. You know, this world is so, um, it can get negative, it can get really heavy. And I think writing to me and just all art in general is a way to put more beauty into the world and to give back to a world that can be beautiful. And I think art is a form of resistance. And artists, the ability to create art no matter what the times look like, I think that's just a testament to human nature and the beauty of the world, beyond politics, beyond religion. You look up into the sky and you see the stars, right? Like this is a world of stardust and leaves and pollen that makes us sneeze. It's just when you look at human nature, we can reflect the world around us with art and with words. And I just think that that is beautiful. And I feel at one with the world when I write.
Wow. Thank you for that. That was a really good answer. Yeah, I'm,
Thank
I'm
you.
happy we kind of saved it for last.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I can definitely see you really enjoy writing, Amanda. And
Mhm.
I always tell people do what you love because that's really is going to push you to do your best. And I can see again, writing is definitely you love it.
Mhm. Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Now, again, Amanda, I definitely want to thank you so much for coming to the show. Thank you so much. Is there something you want to tell our audience before we finish or anything?
I'm going to challenge the audience to write a poem today. It can
Okay.
be about any topic, it can be in any style, but I want you as the listener or the viewer, to look outside the window and write a poem about what you see, or just in anything in general. Just write a poem.
I love it. She's already motivating our audience to write a poem.
Mhm.
Thank you, Amanda. Well, thank you again for coming. Hopefully, we can have you again because this was a great conversation. And I
A lot of
want to,
fun. Thank you.
thank you. And to our audience, keep on watching. Welcome to Get It Right. And thanks again, Amanda. Great conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.